Hello, I am Professor Geraldo Gurgio. You can call me simply by Gurgio. I live here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So you can see this is my address, my email address. And I'm bringing now a solution for a discussion about a physics problem that's very popular in the social media in the last 2 months or 3 months ago. I have made another video in Portuguese, and I received many mails from people who watched it and asked me to reproduce it in English, even though my written solution is over in another video. In this another video is also in English. So let's go straight to this problem that's very interesting, and we'll see the solutions that I'm bringing to you. Okay, we have 4 tanks, tanks number 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all interconnected, and I have first to make some assumptions. The first assumption that you have to make is that all the 4 tanks have all the same volume. Okay, they are all the same. Another assumption we have to make. It's very useful to use the time as a variable. Now we are going to use it in this problem, not the flow as a variable, but the time as a variable. Since the flow is the rate of the tank volume with the time to fill it or to empty it, depending on whether it's a tap water filling or draining the tank. Okay. We have another assumption. We have also to assume that the diameter, all the diameters of all interconnections are the same, and that the tanks are all open, exposed to the atmospheric pressure. Okay, no problems with pressure, and I have seen some solutions discussing about the pressure. No pressure problems here. Okay, very simple. I have to simplify the solution. Okay, let's see, and some considerations, some definitions. T1, we have the time. No? Considering that this time, T1, is the time that the tap would fill tank 1 by itself with no drain opened. Then let's define T2, okay, is the time to drain out all the tank 1 alone. And then T2 would be the time. The time the tank will be totally empty after this time T2 with no water input. Okay, and we call T1 we can see that as the time, it will be the time to fill tank 1 with the tap opened and the drain also opened. Okay, you can see now that the difference between these 2 flows, the difference between the filling flow V over T1 and the difference between V over T1 and V over T2, this is the flow to empty tank number 1. Okay, I have the net flow to fill the tank number 1, that's V over TT1. Okay, and you can see that TT1 will equal to 2 times T1 divided by the difference of T2 and T1. This is a relation that I brought from this first relation. We have this relation of flows, and we eliminate V as the assumption that we have made, that V is the same for all tanks. I have this relation between the times T1, T2, and TT1. I have the final and important relation. TT1 is the relation that I have here involving only T2 and T1. Let's look now to tanks number 3 and 4. We will see that the complete filling of tank 3 will only occur after level of tank 3 and level of tank 4 are equal by the principle of communication vessels. Okay, I have this interconnection here, and the completely level, there will be completely full tank number 3 after equaling the two levels of tanks number 3 and number 4. Okay? Thus, we can look for a second equation relating T2 and the filling time of tanks T3 and T4. Okay, tanks 3 and tank 4. As the tank 3 and tank 4 will fill completely together, let's call T3 bar 4 as a time when tanks 3 and 4 will be simultaneously and totally full. We are seeing that the tank 2 is simply a passing tank where its filling and emptying flow are both the same. Here we have the flow rate input in tank number 2 and the water coming out of tank number 2. It's only a passing tank. So these are the same, T3 and T2. We are seeing that tank 2 is simply a passing tank, that's what I have said, but its filling and emptying flow are both the same. The idea is not to enter into more complex hypotheses and to adopt other complications, or have to adopt simplifications. I'm not considering particular hypotheses that would be out of the scope of the idea of having a more simplified problem answer and interesting for most people to understand. Let's return. You see, as the volume of the 4 tanks are equal, the time 3, 3, 4 will be twice the time T2. Why? It's logical to understand that and assume that the interval time to fill 2 tanks will be double the time to fill only 1 tank. Okay? Thus, we obtain 2 interesting and independent equations. These two the one that gives T1 and other involving T3 bar 4, both depend on times, only on time T1, T number 1 and T number 2, T1 and T2, the times that I have the definition in the beginning of the problem. If we make a comparative analysis and inspect by means of an equality here, we can have 3 distinct situations to answer the question of the problem. This is the main reason of this solution, to answer the problem of the question of the problem, which is to inform which tank will fill first completely. Okay? I have it on to inspect the relation between T1 and T34. The first hypothesis of T1 is being smaller than T34. Okay? In this case, the tank 1 will fill up faster and will be the first tank to fill completely of the 4 tanks. So we have this relation, and look at this relation here, we can see that T1 is smaller than T34. We have that T2 times T1 divided by the difference between T2 and T1 has to be less than twice T2. Okay? So we then have that first, that if T1 is less than twice T2 over T3, the tank 1 will be the first one to fill. So this is an important relation here that will make the main difference of the discussion of this problem. The second possibility here of this inequality, we would have the equality of this relation, that is, the time T1 being equal to time T2 over 3. Twice T2 over 3. Okay, here in this situation of equality we would have the 3 tanks. It's different now, the solution. The 3 tanks, tanks number 1, number 3 and number 4 will be filling completely simultaneously, another solution. Okay, and have a third and independent solution. It's a final possibility of this relation that will bring another solution. Is T1 to be greater than twice T2 over 3. And we now have tanks, now in this situation, another possibility that tanks number 3 and number 4 will fill first, then tank number 1. Okay. Let's see another paper. I'm presenting you some examples, numerical examples, to make it easier for you to understand the meaning of these relationships. See these numerical examples that I have made for you. Okay, I have three situations. Situation A, B, and C. Okay, in these examples, the filling time of tank 1 that we define as the beginning, at the beginning of this video, time T1. Okay, I'm considering the same T1 for the three examples. I'm consider 3 hours. Okay, the time to fill that the tap would fill the tank number 1 alone. 3 hours for the three examples. Okay. The time T2 is different in the three examples. At this first one, example A, the time T2 is 5 hours. In this example B, time 2 is 4 hours and a half. And the last example, example C, T2 is 4 hours. T2 is the time that the drain would drain along the tank number 1. Okay. If you observe, have made the relations and concluding that in these three examples contain the three possible distinct situations of the relation between T1 and the rate of twice T2 over 3. Okay, I have made the considerations when T1 would be less than twice T2 over 3, equal or less, smaller, equal or bigger. In this situation, T1, T3, tank 1, tank 3, and tank 4 filling together, and in the third, and this situation, number C, letter C, T3 and T4 filling first. Okay. Sorry. Okay, now we could do this analysis of this problem by developing the relations as function of the flow, not with the time I have made in this video. The flow of the tap and the flow of the drain tank 1 would be the same conclusions, similar conclusions, but the same solution would arrive. But I thought it would be better to consider these times, would be better to understand and consider. I think it's very interesting to see in these examples that you see the tank number 1 filling in 7 hours and a half, and the tank number 3 and 4 filling in 10 hours. In this other example, have the three tanks filling together at the same time, 9 hours, tank number 1, 3, and 4. And the other example, the last example, the tank number 1 filling in 12 hours, and faster tanks number 3 and 4 filling 8 hours. It only depends in this relation between T1 and twice T2 over 3. Okay, this is the end of our video. Thank you all for watching this video. You can make considerations and suggestions. It would be very interesting if you could make comments below in our video. Okay, bye bye. See you in another video again. Okay, some problems can give to me and send for other considerations. Okay, ciao.